More than 1.2 million people in the United States are either living with or in remission from a blood cancer, and the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society is on the front lines of the fight. Here with a look at the latest advances in cancer research and an inspiring story are Dr. DeGennaro and leukemia survivor Loriana Hernandez-Aldama. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's a pleasure to have you. And Loriana, I want to get to your very inspiring story in just a little bit. Doctor, I want to start with you. Tell us about the meeting that just happened this week.
The American Society of Clinical Oncology just wrapped up. This is the world's largest gathering of cancer specialists. Over 40,000 physicians and researchers came together to review the latest data coming out of clinical trials and research studies, all in the pursuit of new treatments for cancer.
That's a lot of minds getting together for a really great cause. So what was the big news that was discovered and talked about at this meeting?
I think there were a couple of pieces of interesting news. One involves a new kind of treatment called immunotherapy. This is using the patient's own immune system to find and attack and eliminate the cancer. And while we pioneered this, the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society pioneered this kind of approach in the blood cancers. I think the good news coming out of the meeting is it's now being applied and showing benefit for patients with other forms of cancer. I think the other key piece that came out of the meeting was we're beginning to see drugs that target specific bad-acting genes that drive the cancer that can in fact treat cancer in many, many different parts of the body simultaneously. So great advances.
A lot of exciting news. You know, the scientists are incredible, and the fact that we're able to discover these things and move science forward is always so impressive. So there's something also called Beat AML. Can you talk about what that is?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. AML stands for acute myeloid leukemia. This is a very deadly form of leukemia. It's now the most frequently diagnosed leukemia in adults, over 20,000 new cases every year in the United States alone. Here's the problem. The treatments, we haven't had a treatment advance in AML in over 40 years. We're still using 40-year-old chemotherapies. The Beat AML program is a Leukemia and Lymphoma Society sponsored clinical trial to test simultaneously seven modern-day drugs in an attempt to find new treatments for AML.
And Loriana, you survived AML, you beat it, you know, any which way you want to put it, you came out on top. So tell us, if you could, a little bit of your story.
Yeah, I always tell people I'm blessed, I'm alive, but broken because of the toxic chemotherapy that I had to endure, and that's why Beat AML and the initiative is so very important. My story is that I was a former news anchor, fitness reporter, and sure, I was tired, but what morning anchor isn't tired? You know the hours, you're on that end, you're a media personality, you put into it, and you're really tired. But it never I never thought I needed to go to the doctor, except I did go, and they said, you're fine, you're the clean eating, green drinking, yoga enthusiast, there's nothing wrong with you. But the day I went to go have a fertility transfer to have a second child, the fertility doctor said, you can't have a baby, you have cancer. And you can imagine how shocked I was to hear that. I just fell to the floor and didn't know where to turn, except I made that phone call to LLS, having worked with them in the past on a number of causes and events. And they said, you need to go to Johns Hopkins. They found a doctor for me, and the doctor said, get your away. But when the doctor said, you're going to be here for a year, and we may still not be able to save your life, to me that was unacceptable. As a medical reporter, we've covered so many breakthrough advancements. I thought, why has AML, acute myeloid leukemia, been so far left behind? And I felt like I needed answers, and I had to put my reporter hat on and get some answers for all the viewers and everybody who was following my story. And for my then 2-year-old son who was taken away from me. I needed to tell him that we're working hard to make sure that he grew up and had a mother. So through all of that journey, 10 months into treatment, again, the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society played a very big role in my success, because 10 months in, they said, we've given you all the chemo your body can't take anymore. It was like a beat down. And they said, you're either going to succumb to the disease and die if you come out of this remission, or you can try a study. And I said, sign me up for a study. So they told me about it. I said, oh, well, where did the study come from? And they said it's funded by the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. And I just got chills because they've come into my life in so many times. And I was just very blessed. It threw me into transplant, and ultimately, my sister was a match to save my life. So my story, really, my messages could be your story. It could be anybody's story. And there's a big reason to get involved, because you don't know when tomorrow it could happen to you.
Wow. Again, congratulations on overcoming this and on your strength and on your determination. It really is an inspiration to all of us. And I want to thank you both. You know, we could talk about this all day long, but I want to thank you both so much for coming on and just sharing a snippet of this. And really, there's so many resources out there for people. So I want to thank you both so much for joining us. Now stay right where you are. We'll be right back.